when you get to that bracket, people will start flaming you for not having the information. It's not till like much later where it's like, oh, dude, didn't you know Zeus was going right-click build? Like, how did you miss that, you scrub?
Yeah.
Report.
Yeah.
It's way later where like that's expected. Okay, welcome back, guys. This is week 27 of weekly coaching. We kind of missed a week there because of the hurricane. Student obviously can't play Dota in a hurricane, and sounds like he had a really hard week with like personal issues all over the place and a hurricane at the same time. So Dota was a little shaky, but he wanted to look at this game because he said, what was it again, Dookie? Your team was flaming you, even though you felt like you were playing well, right?
So
what were they flaming?
So basically, I've been watching like a ton of BSJ.
Yeah.
And like one of the biggest things he harps on constantly is just pushing lanes.
Mm-hmm.
So that basically my team was taking a lot of random fights. And so they would start fighting and we'd have 2 lanes pushed into our towers.
Right, yeah, okay.
And
that
so I was like, this
Archon to me, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, this can't happen. Like we gotta like do something. So I took it upon myself to push in the lanes.
With your 450 last hits? Yeah, I see that. Jesus. Okay.
And another thing he was just like, just play faster. Like you can, like the difference between you pushing that lane and grabbing a camp and then taking a fight is just how fast you do all those things.
Yeah, that's like that's your MMR right there. Just how fast you're making all these decisions. Absolutely.
So I've been really trying to dive into that, and I think this game is the perfect example of that because I ended up at fucking 30k net worth on Centaur. But the whole time, because my team was taking these really random fights, and like, I think definitely like I should have been, because of I was focusing so much on that, I should have looked out for when they were taking these fights, even though it was hard because the only time my team ever communicated was to flame each other.
Great.
Never said that they were going to take a fight. Never said, hey, this person's alone.
Yeah.
They just took fights and then like, why the fuck aren't you here?
Just super dumb and toxic the whole time. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So literally, I think 3 out of the 4 teammates were like, yeah, easy report, avoid Centaur.
Wow. Okay.
And so I kind of wanted to see like, do they have a point? Like, are there? I think they do on certain fights where I should have kind of looked out for what they were doing.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, I was a big reason why we win this game.
Okay. All right. Sounds legit. So we have definite things to look at. So real quick. So what's MMR now?
244.
2444?
Yeah, 2444.
Wait, 44444. So question 1, I guess, would be like, are we farming too much, basically?
Yeah.
Okay.
Too
much. And then
did I play around maybe the correct spots of the map?
Okay.
I guess it's kind of contextual based on what my team was doing. I think obviously there's things that Centaur or an offlaner wants to do, but because of what was happening, I was like, well, you know. And one thing I'll also say is you won't see this obviously because there's no way to see it.
Yeah.
I've still struggled with kind of clicking around and looking at other areas, but I think I've done so much better on just looking at the map constantly, and that's kind of transformed my game.
Okay. All right. So we'll look out for that then. So like, you know, how is map awareness and info gathering?
Yeah.
And then, I think okay, and this also plays into the homework as well, right? Because we were saying last week, like, play more selfishly, gather info, check the minimap constantly. So it sounds like we did all those things and it felt really good. So,
I think the one thing I have to improve on that is like predicting, like when the lanes are gonna push into us, or just in general. Like I might look and see, okay, the wave is here, but like the next step is like, is the wave gonna push in which direction?
Okay, that's super easy to learn, so we can have a look at that. So like question 4, like how to read if lanes will push.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we can look at that. That's super simple. All right, cool. We got a lot of stuff to look at here then. Let's have a look. Yeah. And obviously we saw already 450 last hits, highest net worth, lowest deaths. Seems good to me. See, you know what the ironic thing is here? Because this happens to me in my games too. I'm like, oh, I'm not showing up to enough fights, and then I look at my stats, and my stats aren't even like bad. Like my damage received and damage dealt. It's like, oh, okay, well maybe it wasn't a problem then, you know?
Yeah, that's the crazy part. Is like I ended up showing up to way less fights. Like especially, I think TA just wanted to fight the whole time.
Yeah.
And TA was the main one flaming me, and I end up with more damage done than TA.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's also you know, we can't just look at the numbers and be like, well, you did 100 damage and you did 200 damage, so you're twice as good of a player, because it's like the heroes are different, right?
Yeah.
But okay, cool. We got a lot of stuff to look at then. I've noticed that a lot with TAs. I don't know what it is. TAs either never show up or they're like, let's go, I have meld, just the whole freaking game.
Oh, would you share screen?
Yeah, yep. See, that's what happens every time we like launch into the story first. I completely forget what I'm doing. But I also forget because I'm streaming at the same time, you know?
Right.
Alright, are there specific moments in the game we should be looking out for, or should we just zip through the lane phase and look to like the mid-game kind of stuff?
Yeah, definitely past the laning phase. Like the laning phase is kind of whatever. I think like things could have been different. Phoenix was kind of like overly aggressive, and I tried to compensate because of it, but the lane ends up fine. We end up taking the tower.
Right. Yeah, my perspective on this kind of stuff has changed a lot too, right? Because I would, in other games, I would be this Phoenix. And I'd be like, why isn't my Centaur going for kills? And then it's like, I've kind of learned a lot, like, well, because he's not ready to go for kills yet. And I'm forcing him into bad positions by doing this. Yeah. So it's a lot of, like, your aggression needs to be based off, like, if your teammate is actually going to be able to help you reasonably. And then what do you do instead? And, like, learning, like, what other options there are besides like going on them 24/7 is pretty important.
Yeah, and honestly, I prefer, because just the way I play, I prefer somebody who is like more aggressive with me in lane, but it was just like a little too much.
Yeah, he's just feeding, so, you know.
Yeah.
Too much. Because I think the way you have to look at it is like Spectre's kind of a shit hero regardless. But she also doesn't really defend herself very well or present really any threat. She's just a big fucking mega creep. Like, you guys can pretty much just decide to kill her whenever you want to, but it's going to cost you a lot if you try and fail.
Right, exactly.
She's like she's just a big stat hero, right? So, and Jakiro can really punish you if you do go, so you kind of need to just like pick your moment and be like, all right, let's go on her now.
Yeah.
And him forcing it like this constantly is just going to be kind of bad, but what were you going to say?
Yeah. I was just going to say, I remember when she was like the big raid boss, you know what I mean?
I don't really understand why she isn't better right now. It could just be a numbers thing. I mean, if the whole point of this patch and this meta is the map is so big and you need to show up to every fight, you would think Spectre would be the best hero in the game, right?
For sure.
But then she just sucks. I think it's just it's a combination of like your hero needs to be really mobile, wants to fight, scales well, can farm independently, and also wins their lane, which is like, okay, great. So the meta is just the most broken heroes all the time now.
Yeah. Well, also, doesn't Radiance not really work with illusions the same way?
It does. It's just not as good on her because her illusions don't last that long, so she's not the best Radiance hero. And the other part of it is, like, if that's your farming item, the build-up to it is so garbage that it's not very good. So, Radiance on Naga is kind of, you can get away with it because she's got Riptide and illusions, like, whenever she wants. Whereas Spectre has, like, just Dagger for AoE and then has illusions every, what, 180 seconds or something? Okay. Oh, it's way lower. Wait. Where the hell is Haunt? Why can't I see her?
Oh, there is no. Haunt is,
oh, they changed it.
Yeah.
So she just has Shadow Step now.
Yeah.
Oh, but I had the cooldown right. It was 180. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Alright, maybe that's why she's dog shit now, because she doesn't have Haunt anymore. When did that happen? Jesus.
I forgot about that.
Okay. This is how much I just kind of gave up on trying to read all the patch notes. Like, this is an instance where I'd be like, what the hell is my team doing?
Yeah.
Like, trying to fight down here. Like, look at all this farm you could get.
Yeah, that is exactly the thought in my mind. I'm like, there's no, why sit there and just damage each other when we could just collect the fucking farm?
Yeah, what if we just farmed everything and pushed catapults into their tower? That sounds good too.
This is 100% the time where they start picking me and flaming me.
Yeah. I think it's like, I mean, you don't have your blink yet, so it's not like you're gonna really be able to jump anyone super well unless you commit your ult. Which, I mean, you could argue, like, okay, if you predict the game is gonna be hyper, you know, go all the time, then you need to prioritize blink first, or blink earlier.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't think it is that type of game. I think both teams are pretty farmy, and your supports are not high tempo. You have a Warlock Phoenix. Those are not high tempo supports. TA is a carry, just being played from mid, right, or wherever the hell she was. Necro is not a high tempo hero either, so like this is a farming game. And you're against Spectre Wraith King. Like it's just there is no like active hero in this game besides like you with a blink. But that's not good enough on its own. You need more than one hero to be active. So I would play this in exactly the same way.
Yeah. Sorry, my computer froze.
Okay.
For a second there, so I didn't hear some of what you said. But...
I was just analyzing the draft and looking at like how both teams are really slow. So like both,
yeah, that's what
there's no mobility. Like what Rubik, Jakiro, like they don't catch anybody. Like Phoenix, Warlock, they don't catch anyone. These are like both team fight supports. So like the only way you screw this up is by team fighting into them without your whole team. Like that's
exactly what they were trying to do,
right? Like you just don't need to do it. You have like a Necro TA, which are two super greedy heroes that can farm everything. You know, especially a TA. There's no, like, I totally agree with you. There's no reason to force this at all. But part of that decision is based on the supports, right? So if your supports were not a Phoenix, let's say your support was like Earth Spirit and the other one was like Venge. Then I'd be like, yeah, let's get Blink and run around with these guys and stun the shit out of people. Like, let's do that. But it's because your supports are like backlining squishy teamfight supports that it's like, we're not making plays. And Necro is not a mobility hero. TA is not a mobility hero. Neither of them have any CC besides Necro ult, right? Like, I don't count, you know, stupid trap slow. That's not good enough. So it's just, yeah, your whole team is just stats. Like it's dumb. This draft sucks basically, but it's okay because their draft is kind of bad too. It's not active either.
Yeah,
and that's actually that's how I'm evaluating drafts nowadays. It's just like, how active is it? Did they pick 5 stuns? Do you have natural mobility? Do you like need an item to go fight? Like if you're just super active, then you win the game usually. I mean, Dota's always been like that, but for some reason it's like a big deal now.
Yeah.
Like I was watching. Go ahead.
I was gonna say this is the part where I think arguably I maybe should have just prioritized getting to them instead of taking this wave, because they had just taken Roche and it was really obvious what they wanted to do.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, like, let's say they don't force high ground, right? And they do the same thing that you do. So you push this wave out, and they push this wave out, and someone farms these, you know, 11 camps in the meantime. And then your supports get to establish, like, siege vision, you know? So you control their secret shop, limit their items, you can take their Tormentor if you want to, like... This area of the map, like, just because you have Aegis doesn't mean you have to go high ground.
Exactly.
So anybody watching, it does not mean we go high ground immediately. It can also mean, oh, I'm unkillable and can go anywhere I want to and farm. Like, that's what, like, a PA will do or a Slark will do. Like, they get Aegis, and that might mean, like, great, I get to eat everything and not be scared. That's all it means, right?
So, yeah, the way I always think about it, because it's not, like, Aegis doesn't do anything that, like, reduces tower damage or reduces like the armor that the tower gives, like something or whatever, something that gives like oh, this is a siege item. It just makes your team fight better.
Yep. Yeah.
That's all it does. So you can, exactly that. You can go anywhere on the map and just take a way better fight for yourself. And so that it makes it so that they don't want to take a fight. So you can take up more farm or force objectives that they don't want to defend.
And I think that's kind of like, unless your comp is very specifically like really good at going high ground, like you have a sniper or a bunch of summon heroes or something like that, like the first Aegis should pretty much always just be a farming Aegis. Yeah. You know? And then your team needs to be looking for team fights, but not up high ground in that part. So that's where you ward everything, and you like sit on your wards and you rotate out. Like if someone's like split pushing, like you go kill them, and then once you have a manpower advantage, then you go force high ground with your Aegis. Otherwise, there's no reason for it. It's just like, what's the point? But on the flip side, if they're gonna just go do it, then I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be better to go with a stupid idea.
That's what my fear about all this. I mean, I end up showing up, but like my fear was doing the right thing and it being contextually wrong because my team doesn't want to do the right thing.
I think that's the age-old question, and I think if you were asking BSJ, he would tell you ignore what your team is doing and do what's correct, and play like you're in a higher bracket, and eventually you'll get to a higher bracket. But I think that can be hard to maintain that and feel like you're not just griefing your team at a really low rank because they never do the right thing, and you're just the only one doing it. And that means if you're playing a hero that doesn't scale, like there's two parts to that, right? If the answer is like go farm everything, but then you don't know fuck all about itemization, or you pick a hero that doesn't actually scale well in the game, then it's like, what's the point of that, right?
Yeah.
So there needs to be like, it's more than just like always do the right play. It's kind of like always do the right play because all of these other things are also lining up as well. But I think in general, it's better to just play like the way you're doing.
Yeah, that's what I honestly like, because I think I leaned after a while into more just like, okay, if my team does something stupid, I just gotta back them up and make it better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this felt really good. Like, this game felt, even though I was getting super flamed, I'm like, this feels like I'm playing correctly. You know, like every time I end up showing up to a fight, I'm super effective.
Yeah.
Because of what I've been doing.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Now, also part of playing faster is not just like go at them all the time. And part of playing efficiency doesn't mean we have to farm literally every single camp and every single wave before we do anything.
Right.
It's sort of like
it's a dance between what is the like most valuable thing at that time. Like what is going to bring us closer to
it's sort of like what it really is it's keeping the goal in mind and then ticking off all the boxes for that goal as quickly as possible. So like if your goal is like, all right, I want this wave to push into this tower, the inefficient way to do it is, you know, your most important hero TP's back here and pushes the wave, right? That's the least good way to do. I mean, the least good way to do it is to just ignore it and not do it and be like, damn it, why isn't this wave here right now? Which is what 90% of people do when they play. They're just like, damn it, it's not the way I want it.
Yeah.
And then the next best is someone TPs and does it. And then the actual correct answer is you just go here and cut the lane and then wait for it to get here. And in the meantime, because you've saved all this time not doing this, you're like controlling the area, and that means you get to farm this stuff while you wait for it to get here. So like playing fast doesn't always mean like do everything instantly. It can also mean like take shortcuts and decide like what you're trying to do and then set up the things for that.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I mean, you know all that. I don't know why I'm talking about it, but...
No, but still, you know, it's really, I think with this game, it's really sunk in. Like, it already was. Like, I've been feeling really good about the games in general because I've been taking these concepts to heart. But this game felt like the, like, kind of payoff of that.
Yeah, the epitome of it.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
And I think here I end up soon picking up.
So this is a minor example. I'll say this is one where you're hyper focusing on the farming, right? So this is a perfect example of that. So they got heroes dead. You have waves. You could force high ground right now. You don't need this wave. So this is a little bit overdoing it, right?
Yeah.
But you have to look at what's happening when you're choosing to do it, because if you weren't in this exact situation of Rubik and Wraith King being dead, then this would be correct. But they're dead right now, so play fast, group and push. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I end up picking up Boots Travel, so I can kind of do both. Because I realized, like, well, I think, yeah, this is a situation where it's like, yeah, I could have been there. So if I'm gonna do this kind of thing, pick up an item that makes it easier. That way I can kind of...
Yeah, but that's also a little bit of a crutch solution to it.
Yeah.
Kind of like someone who's like, oh, I'm bad at last hitting, so I buy minus. It's like, well,
yeah.
You could just get better at last hitting. Yeah. So I'd say that instance, definitely, you should have been top with your team there. You actually could have just won the game right there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, look how mad he is. Yeah, I don't know. So I guess it's just looking for the cues. Because, like, I guess if you boil Dota down to, like, the essentials, like, it's about killing the Ancient. That sounds real stupid, but it's about killing the Ancient, right? So, the only reason you don't immediately walk towards the Ancient is because there's crap in your way. And so, like, if there's not crap in your way, then go towards the Ancient. Right? If there's nothing in your way, like, you got lethal, just go.
Yeah. No, yeah, actually that's a really good way of thinking about it. It's sort of like a card game.
Exactly.
Like, yeah, you could remove their board, or you could just hit them directly.
Exactly. Exactly right.
I agree. Yeah.
And I think the best example of that is they have like a Warlock who's cast his ult, who's sitting next to the Ancient, clicking on you, and you're like, yeah, I'll just go kill the Ancient. I don't care about your fucking 1/1 here.
Yeah. Yeah.
How are we doing on time? 21 minutes, okay. So I think in general, like, so far, it's been good that we haven't been going to all the dumb fights, and then when it's getting to this phase where they're dead and there's kind of no other towers to push, then it's like, okay, whenever possible, we should go high ground if it's good for us. And it is good for you because you have a heart.
Yeah.
You don't care about towers anymore.
Yeah.
These situations, like the map is super dark. Yep, get the next Roche. And I think in this one, you can just send it. Like, you guys are, you should know that you're pretty far ahead right now.
Yeah, this is the one where I'm like, yeah, this is the time. They just finished. They're around me finally. Like, they're finally going to be in a position to play around me. We do it.
Yeah. I don't think you have to play like this either. Like sitting waiting for the catch. I think you can literally just go click on the tower and start the fight like that.
Yeah.
This fucking raging ass! 5-ass! Oh boy. These games look like fun. Zeus right click. Oh no! Oh, this is great. So yes, I think in general the way you're playing is correct. It's just looking for those, like, don't get an autopilot if doing it. If like, oh, this wave is here and this wave's here and this like well, do I need the wave? No, I don't need the wave.
That's honestly also been a thing in general I've been really working on, is not autopiloting, which is hard when you have so many things to consider. Like, you don't want to autopilot your items. You don't want to autopilot your skill build. You don't want to autopilot the way that you play. You want those things to all be dynamic to the situation in front of you.
Exactly. They all need to be conscious decisions you're making.
And I really realized that because I watched BSJ and he was like, he might play like Centaur and be like, yeah, this is looking like a really good Yule's game.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, when the fuck would you ever buy Yule's on Centaur? But it might be, you know?
Absolutely, man. It's tough. It's tough to break out of that mold because you spend so long of Dota. Everybody spends so long learning how, like, they learn how to autopilot things because the game's so freaking complicated. So
it's like,
you know,
it's like that fucking like the curve. where it's like on one, you start off buying like 9 tangos and going like, yeah, this is smart. And then like in the middle, you're like, oh no, I have to buy this every time. And then on the other end, it's like, yeah, this is a good 9 tangos game.
Yeah, exactly. 9 tangos. That's funny. Yeah, and then eventually you get to the top level and you're like, I literally don't need any tangos.
Yeah.
Right? It's funny. Yeah, all right. So there's not too much to say about that one, really. It's just all like conceptual shit. I think the way you're playing is fine. I guess we could look at it real quick and see if there were any, because there was that one that was super obvious to me. Like, okay, you should be in this fight.
Yeah.
But let me see if it made any sense. So what I'm gonna do, I've had BSJ do this with me as well, where he'll watch the game from the other person's perspective to see if it feels like you're griefing them.
Yeah.
I think in this instance, the tier 1s are still up. Like, you're farming behind their tier 1. This TA is just being a nutcase. Like, this is fine.
Yeah.
I don't care about this. You guys are all up behind their towers. Another way to look at it, too, is like, if your team is able to play like this without you, then sometimes it can be better to do what you're doing and play greedy. And sometimes, if you lean into it and play with them, the game ends even faster. And I think that's a super hard question to answer.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. Because that's the point that they were trying to make, was that, like, well, we're already almost winning. Like, if you just showed up, then we would win. Yeah. And it's like, maybe that is true, but maybe we end up taking, like, because nothing about the fights that they were taking seemed like this is planned out. Like, this is like we're jumping on somebody and they're not ready for it. It just seemed like, oh, there's people in front of us, run at them.
Yeah.
Like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, just that. Like, they're in my lane, I have to fight them.
Yeah.
All the time, yeah.
So, to me, it you know, contextually for this game, it felt like that was like, yeah, we just end up taking bad fights and because of it. But I do feel that there are some games where I'm like, no, like, this is the right way to play, but if it works, then it fucking works. It's you know, take lethal when you can.
Yeah. This is also why it can be kind of can be important to go physically check things. Because, like, I don't know if you saw that specific death, but that one looks real, like, stupid to me. Like, she ran under tower and traded most of her health to take fucking Wraith King's ult.
Yeah.
Like, it's just what the... So, like, what I would be doing here is that I'd be, as much as possible, I'd be, like, physically looking at what they're doing. And if they're making stupid decisions like that, I'd be like, okay, your game sense is also stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, if it looks like he's just completely outplaying everybody, like... that's different. But if he's doing things like that, I'd be like, no, I think my idea is a little bit better just because I'm not, you know, trading my life for a spell.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think in general it's probably better to just don't worry about the what if and just think about it like, well, if they don't physically need me, then I shouldn't go.
Yeah. And
that's actually a lot of like laning as a support. It's the same philosophy. It's like, does the core need me? Am I physically changing anything by playing in lane with the core, or like am I actually griefing them by playing with them? Like, it'd be better if I was off farming or like making stacks or something.
Yeah. It's weird. It's almost like TA was like playing my role in a way, like making space for me to farm on the map instead of like letting me take the dangerous lanes and like potentially get jumped on and taking the safe farm, and then just like, you know, I don't know. Like I think about like if TA had just like farmed and maybe we could have ended at like 3 minutes.
I mean, this just looks like noob shit to me. Like, if it's a fucking TA and she's like, look how many other places she could be farming right now. Yeah. Like, there is no reason to sit here and force a fight over and over again with a fucking Dragon Lance.
Yeah.
Like, there's just no reason for it.
Yeah.
And it's because, like, the fight isn't guaranteed. You're fighting into a Wraith King. Like, What's gonna happen? Like, your warlock's gonna die trying to help you. That's what's gonna happen.
I
So,
think
like,
it's just so like obvious if it's like if both teams are spending like an hour in one lane fighting each other, like maybe we could be doing something more efficient.
Yeah, maybe. It's possible there's an alternative in this situation.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so same thing. It goes back to the other thing. Like, when you're in this mode of, all right, I'm gonna play for efficiency, whatever. You have a global ult, and no one's threatening you, so you need to be like watching this fight constantly.
Oh yeah,
that would be the big thing, right?
You'll definitely, if you look at it, you'll definitely see it. Like a good number of these fights, I throw an ult out just to like make sure that they get saved.
Yeah, this is perfect. Like, I see you checking. Like, yeah, okay, they look good. They're under tower. Yeah. Okay, they could use my ult. Great. Yeah, this is fine. Let's keep looking though. Let's see if there is a fight that you should have shown up to. I don't think anything in the bot lane required you to be there at all. This is forcing it. This is not necessary. Kind of hard to keep up with actually what's going on. Hold on, listen, it's going too fast. Oh, my brain's not that fast. I can't watch 16x. Yeah, I think the entirety of bottom lane is just kind of a waste of time. Maybe this one though. So like this, yeah, this is actually relevant. So when the enemy team is chasing you guys under your tier 1, and you're sitting here with Stampede and, well, you don't have a TP, but this is like, okay, where's my goddamn Centaur right now? They're diving tier 1. Like, this one, rotate to this. And it's not, like, do you understand why I'm saying this one is relevant and this one isn't?
Yes, because they're pushing into, like, our objectives. Like, it's not just, like, a fight that's kind of like, okay, whatever happens, and then, like, they go back to laning. Like, this gives them tempo.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's also, the consequences of this fight going badly are a lot worse than the consequences of this fight going badly.
Yeah.
Because you lose this one, that means you also lose the tower, which means the entire map can collapse. So, like, this is important to be here for that, for sure.
Yeah.
And so that would be an important aspect to this when you're playing like this, is make sure you have the ability to rotate to the fight.
Yeah, and I tried to, like, I think I even, like, on my career have a TP scroll right now.
Yeah.
But, it's like, it's also, maybe I should have bought multiples because I'm taking the role of showing up to all these towers and pushing lanes, that I should have thought about that and been like, okay, well, always have one on cooldown.
Yeah, basically.
You know what I mean? Always have one ready.
Well,
but,
it's actually just like you can do this whole thing with one TP scroll, but it means like if you're TPing, it's basically to them, and the only reason you'd be TPing to anywhere that isn't them is if someone is split pushing way harder than you and is threatening towers.
And I think that comes with the like looking at the lane. Because I'm like right now, how I would look at it, I'd be like, okay, the lane is on their side in the middle, cool. And then I wouldn't think about if it's pushing.
Which one are you talking about? That was another question you were asking, right? Like, how is the lane pushing or not?
Well, it was more so like less of a question, but just something that like I know if I just take 2 seconds to look at it and think about that, then that will inform my movements a lot better.
Sure.
Because I agree with you that like I think I was kind of just using TP scrolls too much, because I think what was happening was I was just looking at it and I'm like, okay, the lane is right there. That's where it's at. And not thinking about, like, is it about to push into us? Like, should I clear this and then run there? And then it would end up where I push too far, and I'm like, fuck, I got to TP to mid, because it's you know, they're banging on the mid tower.
Right. Like this wave, for instance, like what's going to happen in mid based off of this?
It's going to push towards us.
Is it, though?
Oh, no, because it... Oh, no, because that's the second wave that showed up.
Yeah.
So this is... Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, that's another important thing, too, is counting the waves, right? Because this is your... This is your 2230 wave right here.
Yeah.
Let me take it on free camera. This is really hard to do, by the way. But like if you can actually get this down, this is super helpful. Like knowing which wave it is and not just a wave. Like actually conceptualizing like what does that mean? This is the 2230 wave right here, and this is the 22 wave. So that means probably this is their 2230 wave fighting your 22 wave. So yeah, this is actually going to push back slightly.
Yeah.
Because this is not going to be full health by the time it hits this wave. So this wave is going to roll over this one. And it's going to very slightly like inch toward their tower. I mean, we can just watch this wave and see what it does. But I'm pretty sure that's what it'll do. Because then this wave comes in and then mops it up. Oh, Tia came here. Oh, she didn't even... Ah, never mind. Okay, this wave did push into you.
Yeah.
Interesting. So we got that wrong. So that would be... Let's try and figure this out real quick.
DA just running past it was...
No, yeah, I was like, oh, she's going to mess it up. Oh, no, she doesn't care. She literally walked past it. That was chef's kiss right there. Okay, I know why this is happening. It's because the wave is strong enough to tank for the range creeps. So actually, the easiest way to look at this is like how many range creeps are involved. Like this is pretty close to even.
Yeah.
One ranged. This wave should beat this wave theoretically. It also be slightly random, so it does beat it, but it doesn't beat it fast enough to kill the range creep.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So now you've got 2 range creeps to 1. Obviously, this is gonna, and then this doesn't get here fast enough.
Dies. Yeah.
So now we're in a 2-to-1. Now it's going to push.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly why it worked out that way, given that the initial wave started out lower than the one that was fighting it. But
yeah,
that could just be damage rolls, literally just damage rolls. Like they are random.
Yeah.
Could also just be the way like creeps target each other. Like if you don't touch anything and you just let the game play out, like towers die.
Yeah.
It's fucking weird, but they do die eventually on their own.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, 3 range creeps to this thing. Like this actually threatens and kills the tower now. So yeah, I don't know. It's not easy. But also, what the hell, TA? Come on, man.
And then they put in chat push now.
Yeah, push now, push now, push now. What are you fucking? Holy shit! See, then you have to grab it because she walked past 7 creeps. It's just next level dumb. I don't know, man. Whatever. All right, I think we've got enough from that. Let's look at the questions real quick.
Very gratifying session.
Yeah. Okay, so are we farming too much? No. For two obvious instances were the top tier 3 push with 2 enemy heroes dead and bot tier 1 defense. Those 2, you needed to show up to those. Otherwise, it looked good. And then were we playing in the best areas? We're just going to quote BSJ again a lot. He was saying like that concept doesn't really exist anymore. Like, you know, the old concept of like, okay, the safe lane becomes the dead lane and then the carry swaps over. That's not really around anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's purely because people don't understand the new map. I think it is because of the twin gates.
Yeah.
And the map being larger. And it's also just these side jungles really screwing that up, because it's like you can't actually take someone's farm away as easily as you could before. Like, you really got to lock them out now to do that.
Yeah.
So you don't like constrain their farm until all the freaking tier 2s are dead, which is a completely different timing than it was before. Yeah. Which is
because now it's
partly
like,
why the first Aegis can be a farming Aegis. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, like, I remember back, like, it was way worse to lose towers and lose farm areas, because like even just, you know, losing a bit could like losing one tower could mean that like now you guys are cannibalizing each other's farm.
Yeah.
Whereas like right now, like if no towers fall, like your half of the map I don't think you can even mostly farm that by yourself.
No,
like
you can't.
By one team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this takes 2 heroes to farm efficiently based on like items and stuff like that. Like even one hero can't clear this entire thing in 1 minute. Because it's just so much. So like this is kind of 2 heroes can be farming here, one up here, you know, and then one grabbing like waves and the occasional camp here, right? Like you can definitely, and it's also your vision, right? So you have like 2 tier 1s and you have these wards here. And those allow you to push way up and start farming these camps. You good?
Yeah. Okay. There we go.
So I'd say question 2 is not really a relevant question anymore. Because the map is not as lopsided as it was before. So it would just be more about like, I don't know. It would just come down to the farm priority thing, and it's like, you got to just make sure you're not taking farm that's not safe or it's too safe, really. It's still like you don't want to be feeding, so it needs to be safe, but it needs to be a little bit more dangerous than the farm Necro and TA are taking, and that's basically it. If that's kind of makes sense. So refer to farm priority, basically. And then how is map awareness and info gathering? So that was pretty good for the most part. In this particular instance, though, because you are off solo so much of the time, and you can see all the enemy heroes doing stuff, like we would expect even more looking around and clicking.
Yeah.
Right. Like way more of it because you're super safe. So proved. This game could be much more info gathering. I'm really gonna harp on it because it's massive. And then how to read if lanes will push. Like count the creeps, count the range creeps. Oops. What were we gonna say?
Fuck, I forgot.
What were we talking about? We were talking about info gathering.
Oh yeah. I think maybe it comes down to like because I think the problem is I'm trying to be like really efficient about like being fast and like okay like every time my W is off cooldown, use it to clear a wave. But I think I literally need to use it and then be like, okay, it's on cooldown. Look, you know, because all I'm gonna do now is fucking auto attack. You know, so you have
if that works for you on Centaur, but that same principle won't be applicable to every hero. So.
Right. I think it's mainly like looking at like, you know, when like in between the time of being efficient with like your like spell usage or whatever, you know. Like if I was TA, it would be easier because I don't necessarily have to use any spells to clear a wave, so I can kind of just like line myself up and then look.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's gonna be dynamic, but you know that sort of idea.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Yeah. Let's see. Little things, by the way, like you could check this. Like good info gathering is doing things like this and checking those courier. You good? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, that's like sense. Really good info gathering. Like, oh, what item is it going for next?
Yeah. Gotta look out for the Zeus Yasha.
The Zeus Yasha, but it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, it could literally be a TP scroll.
It could have been, yeah.
It's just this is a piece of information that could have been gathered. Really, that's the good point.
No, I agree.
You know.
That, and I've definitely been trying to like I fucking forget all the time in the beginning, but I keep catching myself of like, oh, you forgot. Look at their items right when you start playing.
Yeah.
So I know if they have no tangos, or if they're like regened up and it's like okay, they want to fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and it can be. This is one of the hardest things to learn, man. Just like multitasking in Dota, it's so hard.
Yeah.
It's a never-ending thing, but it's a super important skill. It's more important for supports, but
yeah.
When you're in this situation, are you just farming? Like here's how about this? Remember we set our goal to be 1 check per minute.
Yeah.
So let's go back to that. We're gonna kind of exempt the first 5 minutes a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna be watching the clock from your perspective, and we're just gonna count them. I think I can do it on 8 times speed.
Yeah. No, I can promise you that. That part, I've been doing a lot better with just looking at the map, but that part I've kind of lost more.
Like, I don't expect you to be looking right now, you know, because it's like you're next to the tower, you're tower diving, and you gotta get these last hits, right? This is why it's mainly the support's job to do it. Okay, we looked away on the 5 minute, alright? I have to like really be paying attention to see when you do it because it's running so fast. Could have checked here.
Yeah.
Checked anything, really.
Right.
It's more, I guess the trick is to identifying the areas where you're like allowed to do it.
Yeah. That's true too.
I think you looked there. Looked again. Okay, so that was like 3.
I checked there, I think.
Yeah, it's like, that looked like 2 checks there. That's like 5 checks so far. That looked like another one. 6. 7 there. 8, 9, 10, 11. Good. And obviously checking the same area multiple times is good, but like it's not specifically for the homework of checking once a minute. So I don't know if we count that as 1 or 4.
Yeah. No, I mean it's like it's an obvious part to check, you know, when a fight's going on.
There's 1 a little bit. Another 1, 11, 12 maybe.
I think also looking at this is making me realize I think it also comes with like me like knowing exactly what I'm gonna do next. Because I think
Sorry.
that's part of it.
You're a little quiet. This game's super fucking loud like this. Let me turn it down a bit.
Yeah.
What'd you say?
I said I think that part of it I'm noticing, like I'm trying to think like what I was thinking is like there's times where I could be looking, but I'm actively thinking like what is the next thing that I do? And I think becoming more like clear on that and eliminating that from my mental stack will allow that too.
Yeah. Okay. I heard you that time. Your mic is kind of cutting in and out though.
Yeah, weird. Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you. It's just it's going
There we
up and
go.
down in volume.
I think it was adjusted the wrong way. Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
We're up to like 12 or something like that, so let's see. I should start out with this, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, there's another one there. 13, we'll say. That looked like 1. It is hard to tell if it's super fast. There was 1. So you're doing it definitely way more than you were before, because I think we're up to like 15 checks or something right now.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Kind of like gonna burn my brain watching at this speed.
This is like in an anime or some shit where they like put all the knowledge of the universe in your head. All
I know Kung Fu. Yeah, for real. Haven't looked in a long time here. That was like 2 minutes of not checking. I have to find something to be critical of, right? Because I do agree with most of your assessment of this game.
Yeah, like one of the weaker things I can say off top is like looking at like what is my opponent gonna build, you know? Because like I built just kind of based off of like what I assumed, which ended up I think being fine, but like I didn't know Zeus was going a right click build. Like what if that was really good and I'm like fuck, I'm taking so much, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. That's a lot of checks while you're dead. That's good. Alright, we're up to like 18 or so, I think. Somewhere around there.
A little less than like half that I should.
Sort of. If you want to be really, if you want to be a stickler about it and say literally 1 a minute, then yeah, it's about half. But a lot of, I mean, obviously, like I was saying, during the lane phase, you don't really have time to do it. And another thing, though, it is kind of, is why I was saying I don't know if we should count it as 4 or 1. Like, you check this fight like 5 times, right?
Yeah.
But you're checking the same thing 5 times, so I don't know if we want to count that as 5.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think it's
still
more,
good.
you know. Yeah. No, definitely. And I definitely feel like it's improved my game a ton.
Good.
You know what I mean? Like, just, yeah, I don't know. Just doing that, a bunch of little things have clicked, you know? Also, like, I've been, like, taking more risk on, like, pushing waves, but it's not really risk because I'm evaluating it based off of what I can see.
Good.
Whereas before, I wasn't really looking, and I think, and I this literally came from a BSJ video where he was like coaching someone. And he was like, I think like maybe you played against somebody who like is really good about like catching people when they're in lane, but like you need to be like pushing this way more. Like you need to be looking at where they're at and then saying, okay, like they're over here, I can do this now.
Yeah.
You know? But like you're just pushing it to like a certain point and then letting it go. Like you need to be pushing it way more. And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure the exact same thing happened to me. And I was just like, well, can't push lanes by myself because you just end up dying. And it's like, no, not necessarily. Like if you know where they're at and you can take like a kind of educated risk on it, then you know.
I think the what am I trying to say here? The good way to go about that is to be looking at the draft and seeing like if they actually even kill you, or like how easy is it for them to catch you, and if they do catch you, do they kill you, right? So if you're playing against, you know, Nature's Prophet, Storm Spirit, Ricky, like any Invis hero,
That too.
any global hero, any super long range hero, anybody with stuns, like that's where you have to evaluate that a lot harder. In a game like this, where it's like Rubik and Jakiro are the only stuns, like, or maybe Wraith King, like, kind of, you don't have to be worried about it in this draft.
No, and even then, like I know, I think in one of my Dawnbreaker games, I played against a Legion. And I'm like, okay, well, got to be really careful about showing on the wave. But if I think Legion isn't around, I can throw my hammer and then just like clear the wave like that and like run away while I do that.
Right.
You know, stuff like that.
Yeah. So it's always contextual. That's the point that you want to get to, is that your decision making is contextual because you factored in everything. But then it's no part of it is autopilot. But yeah, okay. Let's see then. So we'll just do a quick recap here. So are we farming too much? We said like mostly no, except for there were 2 instances of fights you should have been at, right? Playing the best areas, that doesn't really matter so much, but it's more like if you're taking more dangerous farm because you're able to, you know, that's the important part. And then map awareness and info gathering. So that was way better, but it was like, if we're going to talk about literally like how many checks per minute, it's about half to a quarter, because some of those it's like checking the same thing 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
So we'll say like, I don't know, we're at like 25% efficiency right now.
Yeah.
Which is way better than like the 2% we were at before. So it's a massive improvement. Definitely noticing it.
I think like the first thing to do, because I think I've realized this about myself, is just like I need to take things in like small steps to get better. As opposed to being like knowing everything I'm supposed to do and doing it all at once. Getting up the amount of times that I do it, and then the quality. So like not just looking, but like, oh, there's like a Zeus is in this lane. I looked, cool. What does Zeus have though?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
exactly. Like, what's his mana? What's his health? What
Yeah.
level is he? Like, all
Yeah.
that stuff. Like, and it was the same process for me too. Like, when I started learning this, it was just like, just you need to check, and then we'll talk about the actual info you're gathering later. Like, we'll get to
Yeah.
that. Like, build the habit of like look, and then yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's and part of the reason why I was talking about it so much is because like that was something that like that was the main thing that I was learning from BSJ, and it was like a huge improvement for me like as a support player. Just like how much do I know about what's going on in this game right now? And it really comes in handy. So like again, it's less important for cores to do it, but you know, like all things in Dota, everybody has to do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And the better you get at it, it's like there's no downside to building this
No,
skill.
yeah.
That I think that's the other part of it. Like if you could be the best mid player in the world that never misses last hits and also is checking everybody's items like on repeat, like that'd be you'd be pro, right? It'd be
Right.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and you'd probably be like one of the better pros because I don't even know if they do that all the time.
Yeah. No, but you see, I like for sure. I mean, that's like also like always kind of a good way of like. I mean, sometimes you kind of can't get the info on the why, but like just watching what pro players do, and like anytime I've watched a pro player, I watch them fucking like if somebody like if they're in lane and a courier comes up to their enemy, they'll just click them and like see what they got, you know,
Okay, yeah, all right.
stuff like that.
So it's always relevant. And then
Yeah.
how to read if the lanes will push thing. I mean, I think that is just literally like counting the creeps and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But no, the other aspect to it, like, is it gonna push under tower? That's the other X
Yeah.
factor. Like,
Yeah, that's like a
Power.
big part.
kill it. Yeah, that's like a lot of like just experience. Like you can't math it out purely. But,
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
what were we gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say like, and like, you know, I definitely could have been more efficient with my TP usage, but at the same time, I have to also keep in mind like if I wouldn't have to do that if like I was in a little higher rank, and then it's like somebody else is like, oh, Centaur's up there, I need to go and take this wave.
What do you mean with the higher rank thing?
Like if I'm in a higher rank where more people are thinking like in the way that I'm thinking,
Yeah, yeah.
it's going to be less of like if like a lane pushes in, well, I got a TP because somebody else isn't going to show up. More people will like look and say like, hey, Centaur's pushing up this lane, somebody else is doing this, I need to go and take that.
So you
Like
wouldn't
now.
need to TP as much as what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, that is also true. But also
Yeah.
like I mean even now, like I fuck it up sometimes. Like I go to an area and don't actually have my TP. Like it's like I have one and it's on cooldown, or I just ended up without one because I like snap rotated to mid and then just forgot to buy one. Like I make this mistake all the time.
Yeah.
So we'll tack that onto the question one. Like make sure you have TP available when you're split pushing and team is fighting, and it actually doesn't matter what role you're playing in. That's kind of the main part there. That kind of solves that problem.
Yeah.
So what do you think for homework? I mean, is there anything new we need to add in to what we already have?
I think just kind of improving the like I think doing more of the info gathering and then starting to like improve some of the stuff that we built now, because this game felt like, okay, I've built some of these skills and this is the result. Now I need to increase the quality. Like,
Okay.
could I have gotten another camp in the time that I was gonna go take this wave in the lane, or like when I looked, could I have clicked on this person and checked something?
Yeah.
Trying to get a little bit more of that in now.
Okay, so let's say this then. What we'll say is whenever you don't have an enemy hero on screen or you're dead, like there literally isn't an enemy hero near your hero,
Yeah.
you should be checking somewhere. And then what we'll say is what you should be checking for is items, just to keep
Yeah.
it simple. So like, so whenever your hero is alone or dead, check enemy hero items. And we'll try and keep it to the once a minute thing, but now we're going to be specifically looking for their items. And like, don't worry about like levels or mana or all that stuff. We can tack that on to like next week. This one is like, okay, I'm alone. What does the enemy Zeus have? Okay, I'm alone again. What does Rubik have?
Yeah.
Let's try and build that, because now you have like an objective to what you're looking for.
Right.
Not just, you know, hey, look at the sun. Just like, what color is the sun right now? You're like a little bit more specific, you know. Okay, so that'll be the homework. Any questions about that?
No, that makes sense to me.
Okay, but yeah, otherwise, I mean, I like the way you're playing. I think it's good. Like massive farming efficiency, like way better gathering info. It's really good, and I think your read on how you should play the map is like totally correct. It's just like the little details of it, you know, just like need some tweaking and stuff.
Yeah, and I think
it's really good.
It will also come to a challenge when other people are doing things, like starting to like.
They're doing it too, yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, now that I'm not doing that, like, now what do I do with my time?
Right.
So that'll be kind of a challenge as like we climb.
Yeah, and that'll be where it's gonna get like, once we've kind of mastered this and we've like ranked up to the point where like your teammates are doing it too, which, to be honest, like this stuff, specifically this stuff, like 90% of people are not doing a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
So like it would be like when you hit like ancient or divine, where you'd start expecting like everybody to be keeping tabs on the enemy heroes, like cooldowns and items and levels and all this stuff. And it actually gets to the point where the like when you get to that bracket, people will start flaming you for not having the information.
Right, yeah.
Whereas in this, you know, in Archon, it's like fucking black magic that you like checked the guy's courier and saw a Yasha, you know, recipe on Zeus's courier. Like, that is not something Archon players do. Like, just pretty much I can say that with like 100% confidence. Like, they just don't do that. And like, it's not till like much later where it's like, oh dude, didn't you know Zeus was going right click build? Like, how did you miss that, you scrub? Report. It's way later where like that's expected.
No, yeah, it's actually funny that the series where there was that account buyer who's playing in like the top
the Undying spammer.
It's so funny how quickly they realize that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's hilarious, like within like seconds.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's I've had trouble identifying it lately, just because of like, it's hard to tell with Glicko and stuff like that, and it's also it's really hard to tell because of role queue. Like, I can pretty well identify when someone's not playing on their main role. Because it's like, okay, they have all this other stuff, but then their items are just totally dumb or like whatever, right? But it's hard. It's actually really hard to tell if someone's an account buyer nowadays, because of Glicko just shuffling everyone all over the place.
Yeah. Well, hopefully with like the new fucking system.
Yeah. Have you noticed anything with your behavior score on that?
Yeah, I got, I think, 955.
Okay, that was that Centaur game.
Yeah.
So.
But I'm hoping, I haven't like noticed yet like a great increase in the quality of games, but I'm definitely like using it. Like, I'm trying to like, you know, like, okay, like obviously like 3 people were fucking flaming me for doing correct things, like avoid them.
Yeah, dislike.
Yeah, and then like this dude was really nice, and like maybe he was like not the best, but he had like a really good attitude, you know? Shit like that, just to improve the quality of my games.
Yeah, I think it'll pay off as well.
Yeah. All
right, man. Well, let's call it here, unless there's anything else we want to talk about. I think we're good. We're at an hour now.
That was a sick one.
Okay. Honestly, I feel like I took a little bit too long to get through that, given that there really wasn't a lot of stuff to improve on in this replay. But I guess it's okay every now and then to have like a longer discussion about something.
And it's still good to like have a kind of like review of like, hey, like we can see the progress happening.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. Cool.
Yeah, I'm feeling really fucking good, and like I don't know, it's still hard because it's like just because you make vast improvements in your play, just because of the nature of like
matchmaking.
well, that and you're just playing with 4 other people. Yeah, like it doesn't mean that you're gonna climb, which can be frustrating sometimes. But like,
Yeah.
I just see it in general that my games are going better, so like I'm
That's
going
good.
to climb. You know?
Good. Yeah. Yeah. It's always law of averages too.
Yeah.
Good. All right. Cool. Well, we'll call it there, and then do you feel like playing a game afterwards?
I'm down.
Okay, cool. All right, guys, if that was helpful, don't forget to check out the playlist at the end of the video with the other coaching videos. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. And check me out on Twitch. I stream every weekday at Mr. TV, 2:30 p.m. PST onwards. Hope to see you there. Later.